Hello everyone and welcome back to the Khan Council. My name is Maud Khan and I am an agriculturalist. Today I am joined by Professor Plantagenet, a food scientist.
Hello. Today we'll be tackling the issue of global population growth and the issues that will come along with it. By 2050, global population is set to increase to 9 billion and 11 billion in 2100. How are we supposed to feed this many people efficiently and sustainably? First, we have to discuss food security.
So what is food security?
According to the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization, food security exists when all people at all times have physical, social and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food which meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Unfortunately, many countries around the world are suffering from food insecurity, and today we will be having a look at one.
Yes, the country we have chosen suffering from food insecurity is Mali. Mali is a country in West Africa. Mali is the 8th largest country in Africa, with a population of 19 million, and it is ranked 182nd out of 189th in the World Food Programme's Human Development Index. Frequent drought, violent activity and insecurity has severely affected the livelihoods of many living in Mali, where 44.9% of people live in poverty. 34% of infant deaths are related to malnutrition. Those who do not die young from malnutrition often have stunted growth. Mali has had a rapidly increasing population, as according to the World Bank, the fertility rate is 6 babies per woman.
65% of the land in Mali is desert, meaning that many foods cannot be grown. Agriculture makes up 80% of employment, but farmers usually suffer from high poverty rates due to low productivity, as well as limited access to fertilizers and food markets.
Mali sees both severe drought and severe rainfall, which is damaging many livelihoods. Let's take a look at Mami. Mami is a single mother of 5 living in Timbuktu, and recently lost all her crops to the worst rain seen in Mali for 50 years, taking away her access to food. The rains also poured through the cracks in her mud home, ruining it in the process. Many families like Mami's have been torn apart by the conflict and climate change in Mali and suffer from serious food insecurity.
With the population of Mali predicted to double within 20 years, as well as the population of Africa due to increase to 2.5 billion by 2050, solutions need to be implemented to improve the food security situation in Mali now and for the future. Our first proposed solution is the use of GMOs. What is a GMO?
A GMO is an organism whose genes have been modified to produce more desirable traits. There are 2 kinds of GMO crops, cisgenic and transgenic. A cisgenic crop is made when DNA is taken from one organism and is transplanted into another organism, which is not from the same species. A transgenic GMO is made when DNA is taken from a plant with more desirable traits and is inserted into another plant from the same species.
What challenges will GMOs solve?
The possibilities of what GMOs can achieve are limitless. Since scientists can now modify plants' DNA, they can produce GMOs with any traits they desire. Genetically modified maize has been altered so that it is resistant to weeds and other pests and can produce higher yields in the growing season. Crops can also be modified to produce more nutritious fruits. For example, tomatoes are being adapted so they produce more of the vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is associated with fighting illness, and deficiency of this vitamin is common in Africa.
Give us some advantages and disadvantages of GMOs.
Advantages of GMOs include that they can be grown in a variety of conditions, which means that land previously thought infertile can now be used for agriculture. They can be engineered to produce greater crop yields, which reduces the amount of land they use. Since they use less land, GMOs can also help to stop deforestation and habitat destruction. They can be created with built-in toxins, which remove the need for pesticides and herbicides, which have a major impact on the environment. Some disadvantages are crossbreeding with GMOs and natural plants can damage ecosystems. If not tested correctly, some GMOs could carry toxic pathogens and other viruses. However, cases of this have not ever been recorded.
What is the cost?
On average, planting a hectare of GMO seeds will cost twice as much as planting non-GMO seeds. However, GMO crops grow faster and are more resistant. They also need less water and pesticides and can increase overall crop yields by over 25%. It can be very expensive for companies to develop a GMO plant.
How will this improve food security in Mali, and what is the cost? Is it sustainable?
Many traits which have already been engineered into GMOs could greatly help with food security in Mali. Since Mali is 60% desert, which is not fertile for agriculture, they can benefit from using desert-resistant GMO seeds. One of the higher profile desert resistant crops is Korean scientist Dr. Kwak Sang-soo's GMO sweet potato. It has overcome the heat and can grow in the desert without needing soil. So far, it has been successfully tested and utilized in the Kabichi Desert in China and Kazakhstan.
I agree, but I think I have another sustainable food practice that I believe will help increase food security in Mali: entomophagy.
So what is entomophagy?
Entomophagy is the human consumption of insects as food. There are over 1,900 insects that are edible for humans.
What issues can it solve?
According to the World Bank, crop yields are expected to decrease by 25% due to climate change, so the world needs to urgently find new ways to feed the growing population. By 2050, the world's population is expected to reach 9 billion, meaning the urgency for sustainable food alternatives like entomophagy is increasing. I believe entomophagy can provide relief to many malnourished people in Mali. Many edible insects contain protein, vitamins, and minerals in quantities that are comparable to commonly eaten livestock. Eating insects, if popularized throughout the whole world, could have many benefits, like greater efficiency, lower resource use, increased food security, and environmental sustainability.
Has this practice been already implemented in other countries?
According to the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, 2 billion people in 80% of countries regularly consume insects as part of their diet. It is especially popular in countries like South America, like Brazil and Mexico, where insects are often fried, buttered, and toasted before being eaten. It is also a common practice in Asia, where some insects like wasps and grasshoppers are considered delicacies.
What are some advantages and disadvantages?
According to the professor of food science at Penn State University, John Coupland, entomophagy is much more beneficial to the environment because insects don't need much space, can live in many different climates, and are very easy to feed. Insects are very healthy and also taste good when cooked, as many compare the taste to chicken or shrimp.
What statistics prove that entomophagy is sustainable and efficient, and could it solve food problems in Mali?
In Mali, there are many insects that are edible. Crickets, for example, are one of the most common insects in Mali. Crickets can live in all types of environments and can therefore be grown in the desert environment in Mali. Crickets have 15% more protein than beef per gram, according to Dr. John Coupland. While many cringe at the thought of eating bugs, entomophagy is now becoming recognized as an efficient and sustainable way to feed the growing population. Us Westerners should forget the taboo around eating insects and realize the potential benefits of it. Mali's food security will certainly improve if entomophagy is popularized.
I agree. Possibly a combination of both entomophagy and GMOs would work well together to help improve food security in Mali and to feed 9 billion people globally by 2050. That's all for today,
Thank you for tuning in to the Khan Council.
and we'll see you next week.